I think it's a pretty good day to do a devlog because I don't know if you noticed, but we've had 100 people play officially today, just going based off the leaderboard. I was thinking like maybe we can talk about the past couple of weeks, pretty much since our last devlog, because
Yep.
it's been a crazy 3 weeks or so since we started letting
Yeah.
people try it out.
Yeah, it's crazy how much has happened in the game world.
Yeah, you've been a busy guy.
I love jumping in and making little changes, but definitely my favorite part is this part we're in right now where we're building like one big feature that touches all these different things and is this kind of like new system.
Yeah, like we've had this long concept of what we want to do with the game, but I thought it was a good idea, like what you've been doing. It's just rolling out piece by piece, these functions for the game, so that we can get whoever has the time, whoever's dedicated enough, whoever's nice enough to take a look at what we put out, show us what's wrong with it, so that we can get it to a good place where it's nice and solid, and then we roll out that next layer on top of everything. And I think that's been going really great so far for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've been blown away by people's feedback, like amount of feedback, quality of feedback, just the time invested in feedback is has been insane.
Yeah, definitely. These guys who have been coming in, they've been so helpful, super helpful with nailing down just these small blind spots that we might have had, because just like you were saying, there's so many mechanics for such a small dev team to be dealing with, that you work on something for a little bit and then you get sidetracked, and it's just like I completely forgot I was working on that. And it was like it was like a core function, and it fits right into this hierarchy of things that we're trying to roll out. And it's important, but it's like you get sidetracked, and there's only so much a human can keep track of. So it's great to have people point out, like, why isn't this thing working? It's like, we've got that half baked right here. We've got it, but it hasn't been implemented because it's just so much.
Yeah, yeah, people have been great at finding just the little edge cases also that we would never have been able to find probably like with having to half code, half play. Because some people are jumping in and playing like 7 or 8 hours in a couple days. So
Yeah.
like they're gonna find any problems.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah,
crazy. That's such a good feeling for us, knowing that people can,
yeah,
come in and enjoy the game for such a long period of time. Because just like anybody that's ever done anything creative, that like part of the way through you can't tell anymore if what you're doing is good. Like
yeah.
there's little like moments where it's like, oh, that is awesome, that's super cool, but like overall you kind of just you lose the perspective of, is what I'm doing good anymore. It's tough to tell.
Yeah. No, for sure. The game is totally different in my mind than someone who plays the game. Like the representation I have in my mind looks nothing like playing the game, unfortunately, because we're building it and we're seeing this future version of it and the code and then the little screenshots we take that represent the game,
Yeah.
all these things. It's totally different than just playing the game.
Very true. And one of my favorite things to do over the past couple of weeks is just to pop on real quick and look at the leaderboard, and see the number at the bottom go up, because that it's just a quick way to see how many people have been trying the game. Because this is just the alpha test, we haven't done any kind of major advertising pushes or anything like that. So it's basically just been putting the content out there to compete with millions of other pieces of content.
Yeah.
So just to see anybody taking any kind of interest in what is just a very bare bones mechanics wise, it's been just super fun to watch that number grow.
Yeah, it's very surprising, and it shows how much people love playing new games and falling in love with new games. So that in itself is just a really cool thing to be doing, is like building something people really want to like delve into and fall in love with and get immersed in. Such a cool experience.
Yeah, like back in the day when we were first figuring it out, that was kind of the core driving point. Is you wanted to build like a almost just like a set of tools that allowed players to build their own story that they could also in turn interact with. And naturally it's gone through so many iterations since then, but I still think that that core concept of like you have this set of tools to develop your own novel, your own story. I think that's still very much alive, and still what makes this game special is that storytelling that's going on every day.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
I can't remember who it was that did it, but we woke up one morning and somebody had broken out of the sector.
That was Pablo.
The Pablo, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, which is really funny because game mechanics wise, like I said before, we're rolling it out in short spurts so that we can test it and make it solid and add the next layer on top of it. So naturally in the future, the whole goal is just this almost infinite exploration process that you can go through as a player, and but we haven't quite implemented that yet. Regardless, somebody managed to break into the next sector without it existing.
Which is such a fun example of how, you know, the undefined things in these worlds you build become some of the most interesting things. The broken things become interesting, you know.
Yeah, like another one was somebody making, I can't remember who it was either, but we just logged in one day and they had what was it, over 1,000 drones working
Yes.
for them.
And they were complaining. They were complaining like, "Hey, it's not working properly."
Yeah, who would have thought? Who would have thought
Yeah.
it's not working properly? Yeah, definitely got it. We were like that day was a good long conversation about limits. That was hilarious. Just the picture alone was just fantastic. Another thing we found out, like one of the players was attempting to kind of role play this sector, that they had claimed all the planets, and each planet had this mechanical, mostly ocean kind of motif going on, and they were trying to develop this overarching story that all the planets were working together and they were heavily mechanized. And so he was putting only engineering guilds on his planets and doing only engineering work to go along with the story that he was creating for his sector. But then somebody else came along and started putting their own recruits from other guilds onto his planet, and he was like, dang it, man, I'm trying to create this story here. And so he's bummed out about that. And but so then we thought about maybe having the idea like you can claim a planet and you can close the planet. Like if you claim it and you start it going on, then you can just click a button and be like, nobody can mess with this one in that way, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to turn that into some kind of semi PvP mechanic eventually, to where you have to pay for defenses or something like that. Because I mean,
Yeah,
it's a huge planet. You can fly a ship onto a planet unless you got defenses. So,
yeah.
um, obviously, we're not creating a simulation, but it would be nice if it made sense a little bit. So yeah, it'd be cool to somehow find a way to make it very expensive to keep people off of your planet at least.
Yeah, like this game just it totally lends itself to there being some sort of combat. I see that being around the corner at some point in time because just the fun. We just got so many people in here just with this simple test, and they're butting heads and they're helping each other, and so it's everything's mixing together in hilarious ways. And so I can just see like giving people an outlet to both protect themselves, but also to interrupt other players in various ways. I think it's natural. Like we've definitely talked about it, but and
Yeah.
it's I just the more we see people play it, the more I see it being a, a high possibility.
Yeah, I love the little area we're finding between real hardcore number-based mechanics and random generation of words through AI. We're like finding this space between those two things that I think is going to be a real sweet spot for the game where we can, somebody won the battle, but then there's this beautiful description that AI comes up with of what happened. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool. Um, Another thing that we talked about during the earlier days actually came up yesterday with a new player having her first time experiencing the game. And I was speaking to her about just the process and what the game's overall about. Because, naturally, there's a very steep learning curve right now because we have no kind of real systems in there for teaching players how to play. That's still kind of on the drawing board. Not so much on the drawing board actually. That's we've got to figure it out. It's just we got to implement it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the things was the idea of having a colony on a planet that already has a colony, you know, and you have them living together. And so, like, you know, basically a player would claim a planet, and then another player could come in and somehow build a colony on that planet as well. Maybe not claiming it, but having multiple colonies on a planet and the kind of shenanigans that you can get up to with that. I thought it was just super interesting that within 10 minutes of finding out how the game plays, that was something that she was looking for.
Yeah, very interesting. I don't think we'd ever even thought of that.
Yeah, it was. We talked about it earlier on when we were like wanting to think about the actual geography of a planet. Like we wanted to get that deep when it came to the description.
That's
Yeah,
right.
like there would actually be continents or land masses, and then you could choose to put your colony down on one, which I think is great. Like that would be the deeper of a understanding of a planet that we should get. Like when like the weather patterns, the actual like shape and size of it. Imagine like an image being given to you when you deep scan that shows you like a flat map, of the entire Earth. That kind of stuff. Like I think that kind of thing could be fantastic for immersion.
Yeah, wouldn't be too hard, especially if it's hexes. I'm very good at hexes now.
Yeah, you just put the map out, and then it gets hexed out by the system. It's always the same rectangular shape of a map, and it gets filled in with two different colors. Black and white. White is landmass. Black is oceans or something like that. And then the hexes go on, and you can just pick your place. That kind of thing. Yeah, it's totally possible.
What's up?
Yeah, 100 players played today.
Yeah, he said we got it to 100.
Is that a goal? Is that a record?
Yeah,
That's like people actually like it.
she's surprised people actually like it. You got to start playing.
What if I like it?
Yeah, what if you do like it? Then you'll have lots of opinions.
That's exactly what I'm at.
And I'll have to prioritize your bugs over everyone else's.
No biases. No biases.
Yeah. Yeah, the process that we've been going through trying to create a real feeling world, because that was the first thing people jumping in noticed, is like, oh, it's telling me this planet. I think one of the first things someone reported is like, it's telling me this planet exists and I've been looking for it. So they're like going all over the map looking for this planet, but it was just something AI made up. I don't know why I didn't think that would be a problem. but, but yeah, so that was one of the first things, and it's still to this day the big thing that people notice is like well, two things: they run out of stuff to do, and they notice it's not a real world. The stuff that AI is talking about is just hallucinated completely. So the past 2 weeks have been a lot of planning and thinking, and finally we're implementing this system that is actually pretty cool, where pretty much anything that happens goes into what's called a vector database. That means it's like ready to be interpreted by AI. It's like an AI language. And so every message you send will check, before they respond, they will check against this database that represents pretty much like everything that's ever happened in the universe. So every planet that's ever been claimed and named, every guild that's ever been created, and it's actually limited to the system you're in, just so it's more handleable. But there are public like news things that'll check, and so then it gets, I think I have like 50 records coming back and compiles them together, and it'll use those as the context for the reality of the message that it's going to respond with. And we're trying to make it so that it doesn't hallucinate. No matter what, it always bases everything it says on the results it got. And that'll become better and better the more stuff there is for it to respond. So in a undeveloped system, we're going to have to figure that out. We might even just have to tell it like, hey, there's no results here, so just answer with, like, we need to do more scanning, we need to do more, development. But in highly developed systems, it'll have tons of information to talk about it. It'll know everything that's going. You can ask it for reports on like everything that's been happening in the system in the past day and stuff. So I'm really excited about that personally.
Me too, man, because it's the cornerstone of making the world believable. And it feels like there's no reason for me to, create an interesting story on my planet if the AI isn't going to role play correctly with the story I've created. You know,
Yeah.
so it's that important missing piece, and it's it's kind of piggybacking off of the lore system that we had originally been developing, pretty much towards the beginning of the development cycle. Is it the lore system, or is
It
it
is.
something new?
Yeah, we've had like 4 ideas, including the quest system and everything, that have all kind of become one super idea. And I do call it the lore system. That's what I'm calling it in the code.
Oh, okay.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's like all these different things have kind of congealed and simplified into this one solution to the problem, which is pretty much just letting AI pick what to talk about. Pretty much that's the thing. It's just we're giving it way more to pick from. Pretty much everything in the game we're trying to give to the AI database for it to be able to find what's relevant. And the more you give it, I think the more interesting the responses will be. That's my experience so far. Yeah. We're
Yeah.
just testing.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I agree completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been working behind the scenes pretty hard uh, recently, just coming up with this background story that we can give it, so that it's on the same page, just as like kind of a foundation um, that the players are going to start, adding to as they play the game. And that comes down to, things like the main story of why we're out here doing what we're doing, the technical specs of like everything that we've got going on so far, like the ship, how does the ship run, what parts of it are making the ship go, the equipment that's used whenever terraforming happens, or we're building the portals or deep scanning, like all these little things that we're able to feed into this system that you've built that will allow players to role play in the universe. Because it'll be fantastic if, when you ask, well, how did I just use element zero to destroy this planet? Um, and you ask one of your engineer recruits about it, and they're like, "Oh, I could totally explain that. This is how we did it. It was developed by this particular, this scientist, 50 years ago." And they'll have all that information to call on, and it'll all be built within the lore of the universe. So I think that'll go a real long way to making the universe feel more believable and lived in.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I can't wait till all that stuff happens. And I'd really love to involve, the users as much as possible. And that was your original idea for the lore system, was that the users just coming up with kind of co-creating with the AI something totally new. And now all of a sudden that's like set in stone as long as it doesn't conflict with something else.
Yeah.
So that would be fun.
Yeah, I think that's in there. Yeah, that's because that's pretty much how it's going to work. We're just building the foundation for the the historical stuff that kind of came before the players,
Yeah.
were able to play the game, and then the stuff that they do end up doing, whether it's inventing some sort of thing. Like, for instance, I invented one of my planets. I invented this new thermal gel that could be used in the tents for the colony, for the first, like, the beginning of the colony, because in the background lore that we're putting in there, when you start your colony, it's going to be small. It's going to be a small, very very small population, very low technology colony, because you're just starting out. You haven't had time to build buildings or homes or anything like that. So in my colony, the terraforming process involved these quick setup tents for all the colonists to live in, and that's part of the background story that we put in. But with one of my terraforming engineers, terraforming recruits, we were able to come up with a thermal paste or thermal gel of some sort. That was her suggestion based off of the fauna in the area. She was able to like create it to add insulation to the tents, which would help with just quality of life for the colonists. That part goes into the lore as well. That new thermal gel, that's in there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super cool that that's just a global part of, everyone's reality now, but you created it. And I'd love to track who creates these things.
Yeah, definitely. Like put a little tag down there that it was me that came up with this, and my me it was a combination effort of me, and I think it was mostly her. It was mostly her. I
Yeah.
kind of just pointed in the right directions. Like go there.
The crew of your ship. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
my ship.
crew of your planet. Yeah. No, it's very exciting. And I think now that we've kind of opened up everything by dumping it into this database and having AI call this database, it will be fun to limit things. Like if you are talking to your engineer about something that requires a physicist, it would be fun if they like told you, oh, let me cooperate with this physicist, and you have to like bring the physicist in to like do certain things, or the terraforming thermal gel would require some kind of maybe physics, I don't know, probably thermodynamics or something. So they would require like help from a physicist, and they can like, it would just be fun to have these little limitations that create that involve the player like solving the problem. That's also like would be amazing to have, is where the player actually feels like they're solving problems,
Yeah,
terraforming and stuff.
yeah, like coming up with deep scientific solutions for these sci-fi issues that are based somewhat in reality, so you can and you're kind of helping guide your recruits to the solution. Yeah, that'd be a whole lot of fun, kind of like this procedural puzzle solving.
Yeah.
And we kind of have it figured out, like something that a lot of players probably noticed just like a week and a half ago or so, is we rolled out like the next layer of planetary development concepts, and the people obviously quickly noticed because it's a brand new piece on the UI there that shows you the 4 guilds that you can have working on a planet also correlate with stats that come with the planet. So when you find each planet is different in every way, and now you can really see that because you can immediately see, once you do a deep scan, the stats that the planet have, based off of physics, engineering, terraforming, and programming. Yeah. And originally there was not too much to do with the planet to get the resources out of it, but now you have these statistics that are constantly changing based off of what you do to the planet through your engineers and research and quests. And it's just like you were saying before, like sometimes some of the stats require you to involve two different guilds, because naturally, if you're doing something that would require that, then that would make sense. Like if you need an engineer to make you something that would benefit from a physicist, then once the quest is activated by you asking the engineer that you want them to do something, if it's that kind of thing, then it'll show you in the results for the quest, or sorry, in the requirements for the quest, that you need to have your stat for the physicist at a certain level. So they all those 4 stats are playing off of each other, kind of similar to what we were talking about, but in a more mechanically grounded way.
Yeah, I love that whole system. It's kind of like the terraformers lay the foundations for people to be able to survive. The programmers make it more efficient to live in that situation by, I guess, kind of automating things. And then that allows for the engineers, because I guess, yeah, engineering requires programming if it's like automated futuristic stuff. And then the engineers and the programmers help the physicists do like the exciting research work of exploring the universe and stuff. So I love it.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of fun, and the knowing that those stats are fueling the AI, just like pretty much everything. Like we're only benefiting from feeding the AI more information, because it just becomes more realistic, tailored to what you're doing. those four stats are telling the AI how your planet should be described or handled. The simplest term that I use so far for people, with terraforming, if your terraforming the stats right now we have them -10 to +10. If your terraforming is low, then it knows that there's not a lot of people on your planet and that your colony is relatively small. When you're talking about your planet to one of your refugees, then it can use that information to be like, oh yeah, we got a tiny colony. Everybody's really nice, but there's only 100 of us, that kind of thing. So, and anything we can use to fuel the AI to better the storytelling, we're going to use. And so far, having those stats like that has been a really exciting development for that process.
Yeah, I'm really excited about seeing. It's an infinite amount of play that we as the creators have with fine tuning, like what information we give AI and what pops out. That's our job, is to give AI the best information to make the game fun. And that's just an infinite game for us. So
Yep. Yeah, it's super fun because every time we do something like that, the story gets just that much more believable. Yeah, that's what we want. And
yeah, we really want people to be able to feel like they're exploring the galaxy and space and developing new technologies, and this new technology AI definitely makes that possible.
whenever we start talking about that kind of stuff, man, I keep coming back to like the concept of having like far future stuff. We have your player just isn't your player anymore. Your player has an inventory and equipment, and you can have those things determine how other things happen in a relatively similar to like D&D dice roll, kind of fashion. And being able to do something on your planet that requires you to, follow along with a prompted story that, has you engaging in combat or engaging in discussions that require dice rolls, all led by what is essentially an AI dungeon master. I see that's what I'm really excited about trying to do in the future. If we can get to that point, I would love to see something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing I found just 2 days ago, and I had heard of this thing before, it's called function calling, also called tools in AI. I'd heard of it before, I'd never used it, so I don't know why I just didn't think of it. But then we were trying to solve this one specific problem with quests where characters were giving you a quest no matter what. If you didn't have a quest, they would give you one, even if you just said hello, and it just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I started implementing this function calling thing, and it seems like it's going to allow for a lot of things like that, like, adding just simple things like adding something to an inventory, or your friend wanted to be able to drop trash off on your planet. So I actually today added a feature where the captain can command uh, their crew to do pretty much whatever, and it just kind of like goes on the record that they commanded their person to do that, and the person did it. If you confirm the command, yeah. So you could drop
Fantastic. I'm
trash
glad you're
off
listening to people like that. That's really nice.
but it is such a cool idea because that's like a story feature that it really doesn't affect any gameplay.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll run into issues there, but those will be interesting issues to solve. But yeah, you could just command them to, like, I don't know, swap the deck or something, and it'll just go on record that that was a captain's command to their crew, and then so that they'll always remember that in the future that you asked them to swap the deck, and they'll mutiny.
Swabbing the sci-fi deck of the ship, still using the mops from early Earth history. That's how we do it.
We bring
You know,
salt
we've
water
got
to
some
the
sort
places.
of we've definitely got some sort of high-tech Roombas in that ship. That
That's true.
yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
ridiculous. But yeah, great. So now there's the systems in there that allows people to use my planet as a intergalactic garbage dump.
Exactly.
Fantastic. So whenever I visit that planet and I ask one of my recruits what's going on, they could put by some chance they might mention that they're having a lot of trouble doing their work because giant ships keep showing up and dumping tons of garbage on it. Yeah. Great.
That would be very interesting. That's actually a good point. We should add a feature where you can get like everything that's happened since the last time you went. Because we have the daily update feature, but it would be cool if it was like, give me an overview of everything that's happened since the last time I was here. I should add that.
Well, yeah, let's talk about the daily thing, because I think one of the big things that we're missing right now is, since we're rolling out we're rolling out mechanics as we kind of build foundations with the older ones. One of my favorite things that we've been talking about since practically the beginning, getting going, is kind of like that reward for all the hard work that you put into claiming planets and developing them, which is the daily. We don't ever really have a name for it, like the daily news cycle or something, in line with that. And what we've talked about so far is basically having the system where a player will receive a daily update from any of their planets that they've developed enough, and the update will come in the it'll come in like the form of a kind of like a newspaper article written by somebody on your planet, telling you about how the planet's going. And we're going to be making that to go along with our own like galaxy news cycle. That's essentially a featured list of people who are playing the game and things that they've done on their planet. So you have these two things that you get to come back to the game every day for: this personal news, personal news update that tells you what's going on with your planets, but also a featured news update that kind of scrapes the people who have been working on their planets and doing research, and makes like a one-page article about a handful of them to tell you kind of what they've been up to in the galaxy, kind of like just this galaxy newspaper that we implement.
Yeah. Just listening to you talk about that, I realized we talked about that feature where someone can claim a system.
Yeah.
And I think that could be the same thing that determines whether or not someone gets featured. So it'd be like this overall success rating or overall productivity rating of like how much you've accomplished in a
Yeah.
system or overall throughout the day to get featured in the automated like front page of the news kind of thing. So there'll
Yeah.
be this secret rating system. Probably won't be that
Yeah.
secret. Probably be easy to figure out, but
We can make it a hybrid even, like there could be like you get the top spot on there on that daily feature list if you're the one who's doing good. But then we also throw in a couple of just random, like, and also these couple of guys were doing these things over here, whatever, we let it choose. But yeah, it could be a hybrid. It could be technically like a feature because you earned the featured thing. Like it could be any of that. Just as long as players know that they could get a chance to be on what is essentially the front page news of the galaxy,
Yeah.
based off of whatever, to just what going hand in hand with the daily updates, since that's just fun to be able to like sit back and see the fruits of your labor, basically.
yeah, yeah. Take that, Reddit, front page of the galaxy.
Front page of the galaxy, yeah. Internet is small fry.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about that. And it's practically built. The rating system needs to be built, so we could probably look for that pretty soon. Hopefully before the next devlog. Hopefully before the next devlog, we'll have the consistent universe, a complete rating system, and the news, and an upgraded chat interaction quest system, and that'll be a pretty much whole new game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because the we're closing in, I think, really well on like the having like a loop, having an actual gameplay loop, so that players won't run into that dead end. Which is, we've gotten a lot of feedback about the dead end, which is honestly great because that's true. Like we're like we said, it's in an alpha. Everything's in the testing phase. We're still like rolling out pieces and some very crucial pieces to the gameplay. So the loop is not there right now, and we're planning on we're definitely going to have a loop.
Yeah, and it takes hours to to kind of do everything currently. So it's pretty surprising there's so many people that spend hours in the game in alpha. But yeah, this will definitely make it so there's no limits. It's just you could just do anything. And I guess we could talk a little about that ship idea we had with like the diagram of the ship,
Yeah.
because I thought it would be cool if the comms, I was like, what could the comms do on your ship? It'd be kind of cool if they were like your propaganda machine and they let you blast a message out to the system that you're in. So anyone in the system gets like a radio signal,
Uh,
and but the
yeah.
AI will compose it so it's filtered to a degree. Um, but just, yeah, the idea that you could just do stuff like that forever, just like put out some crazy news about stuff that
Yeah.
you did or something, and we'll
Yeah.
have to put some limits on it, but yeah.
Make decrees and stuff like Tuesdays are Taco Tuesdays are mandatory now. Don't let me see you eating a burrito on Tuesday or straight to jail.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
crap. I didn't know you couldn't have burritos on Taco Tuesday. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. It's America. This is America, man. You can have
I
burritos
gotta
whenever
read the
you want.
fine print. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. With the ships and the comms, are you considering the comms as kind of that group conversation type mechanic that we were talking about,
Oh,
or is
that's
that something
interesting.
separate?
I haven't fully figured it out, but that the idea is this would be like you got to go to the right person in order to take certain actions. And we were talking about having multi crew chat or like an intercom where you can talk to multiple people at once and they would all respond with their specific responses and they would know about each other's responses, creating a group chat feeling, which would be really fun. But yeah, it'd be cool if you got to click on comms and there's like a command that's like open up a channel, or
Yeah.
open up the intercom. Um,
Yeah.
and then you select who you want to talk to. And so maybe you want to talk to like the engine room and the core and life support. And that would be fun for us to eventually have problems go wrong on your ship that you have to talk to the right people. But right now it's just, yeah, you just can send a message. You select 4 people, send a message, and they'll all kind of come back one by one with their response, knowing the other person's response also, so that they
Yeah.
can kind of build on each other and cooperate to a degree.
Yeah, like a full-on group conversation. It's just bringing what the reality of that situation would be. Naturally, you want to speak to multiple people to solve problems on your ship. So we're just working off of reality, trying to make that work. And I think it's a good start to uh, working our way into um, more in-depth ship mechanics. Since naturally right now we don't really have any mechanics aside from the morale on your ship. And we're definitely right now would probably be a good time to put up a photo of like the hexagon, the simple system you have right now for the ship. Um,
Yeah.
getting that kind of in-depth management of your ship is like just another huge piece of the puzzle that I think is going to be really fun for people once we get it implemented.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely something to look forward to. I think people will have a lot of fun talking to specific people on their ship, and having that context of like, I'm talking to the comms officer or the nav officer and having certain powers that those people only have, kind of thing would be fun.
Yeah, just more ways to customize, more ways to run maintenance, and more ways to optimize, and to which is the fun of these kind of games is getting tweaking every little thing and seeing what those tweaks do over time.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't currently have, I took the XP character XP out. Um, I don't remember exactly why, but we have the morale system. But what do you think of being able to take characters between tiers or something, like upgrade your characters. So there's like always something to do with your character, some benefit to it.
Totally. Like we already have the class system for the recruits, you know. So it only makes sense. I was actually just looking over my notes for the planetary stat system, and one of them in there has a question mark at the end of it. It's like doing quests with recruits increases their skill over time. Like question mark. Yeah, that could.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that would be
Stuff.
yeah. Mhm. It'd be great if they could slowly but surely get better. Just another thing to invest in, which is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe we could find a very simplified version of it. Like if you every 5, 10 quests you do with them, they go up a tier or something so that you can eventually get them to S tier just by
Yeah.
working with them. Yeah.
Yeah, so you bought them cheap, but you grew them to something more, better, and then you can sell them off or something like that. I don't know about that. Sell them off for money. No, you're not selling them off. You're selling them through that. You're giving them a. I don't know.
Did we
We'd have
just
to come
create
up
a
with another
slavery
word.
market?
Yeah, I think we may have just invented slavery. God, every time.
That's our first economy mechanic.
Yeah, there you go. That's the other. Not just simply selling resources and minerals, just straight into slavery.
No,
But yeah.
it's just paying to
Well, this
train
was
them.
fun, man.
Yeah.
I think we should end it there.
Yeah, let's end it before we go any further.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's always good seeing your face instead of just talking to you every day for hours on end trying to figure things out.
Yeah, voice chat on Discord. Yeah.
Yep. Well, hey man, great work. It's crazy how fast you crank some of this stuff out.
Yeah, it's a labor of
Yeah,
love for sure, and you're enabling this and helping so much. So thank you very much.
no problemo, bro. It's a lot of fun. I'm having fun. You're having fun. Everybody's having fun.
I think so.
All right, man. Until the next, I don't know, man. Probably until tomorrow.
Yeah. See ya.
I'll see you then.